What's up, Brittany?
Hey, Dr. John, thank you so much for taking my phone call today. I really appreciate it.
I'm grateful that you called. What's going on?
So, my husband and I have had 2 children, and we are really struggling with our intimacy, and I'm calling in to get some advice and guidance as to how we can get that back and rebuild our connection.
I can hear it in your voice. Is this a scary call to make?
Incredibly scary.
I'm proud of you. Thank you for your trust.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
so
just felt so much shame.
I got you. Tell me about the shame. Tell me about it.
My oldest is 2.5 at the end of the month, and we also have an 8-month-old. So we are really in the core of the little kid years, all the struggles, the trials, the tribulations that come along with that. And I think the shame is connected to me kind of feeling like our lack of connection and intimacy is just a failure of our marriage. And it hurts. And
who told you it was a failure?
So many people. Yeah. It's kind of been the carousel that plays in my head. Parents, teachers, former therapists, friends. It's kind of been an overarching theme throughout my life.
That you're a failure?
Yes.
Are you a good mom?
I think so. I hope I am.
No, that's not what I asked. I'm just asking you direct. Are you a good mom?
Yes.
Yeah. I think you are.
Thank you.
And are you also so exhausted?
Beyond.
Yeah. Other planetary exhausted, huh?
Correct.
So I'm hesitating right now because there's something I want to tell you, but I'm afraid it's going to be both comforting and really annoying.
Okay.
Are you in a place where you can be annoyed? Is that okay? And if you're not, that is say, John, just shove it and move on to the next thing, and I'm happy to do that.
I'm alone in my car.
Okay.
I'll be okay. Yeah.
You're not crazy. You're totally normal. Having an 8-month-old and a 2.5-year-old and struggling with sex, and I'm assuming intimacy, it's veiled language for your sex life is just gone. And a husband that's stumbling around, not knowing where he fits in this new picture, and you trying to carry the weight of everything. And you're at the point where I can't carry it anymore. I want you to know it's totally normal. You're not nuts. You didn't fail anything. You're not crazy. You're not bad. You're not doing a bad job. This is the part of the story that nobody tells you.
Right.
Okay. And I know that doesn't make it feel any better because you still want to connect with your husband and you still miss him and you still want to feel like you're actually like successful at something, for God's sakes. And I get that. And so I know it's annoying when I tell you that, but the other, I want you just to relax in, you're not crazy. You're not doing a bad job. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. As comfortable as you are to talk about it, and my wife tells me I'm real awkward because I just got to jump into these things all over with people at my dinner table and beyond. Tell me about how your sex life used to be and how it is now.
I'll be honest. It's at the very beginning, it was, hot and heavy like most relationships are. As time began to move on, it started to taper off a little bit. My husband is the first stable, safe romantic relationship that I've ever had in my entire life. So towards the beginning, maybe about a year in, is kind of when, as I mentioned, things started to taper off. I feel like I began to kind of push him away because I was so scared of the kindness, the lack of chaos. I was kind of trying to create it, if that makes sense. We were able to move forward, and try to rebuild from there and continue working on our sex and different things in our relationship. 4 years ago, we got married. We've been together for a total of 9 years, married again for 4. That was the height of COVID. Of course, we had a very small, 10-person allowed ceremony. And then the next year, 2021, is when I became pregnant with our first. During that time, I think it was very unique on the curtails of the pandemic, being pregnant. It was kind of scary. Scared, but excited for this new chapter that would come about in our relationship. During that pregnancy, I was very uncomfortable. I gained a lot of weight, so the intimacy during the pregnancy definitely started to taper, and it kind of began to slowly spiral from then. And now we're in 2024. We welcomed our second child late fall of last year, and it got to the point where we kind of forgot or couldn't even name the last time that we had been intimate. What perpetuated this call particularly is everything kind of came to a head a couple months back when I returned to work after my maternity leave. Both births of both of my children were incredibly traumatic, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Our second child was actually born premature, so she had a 32-day NICU stay, that's a whole different conversation for a different day. I was returning back to work a couple months ago, and my husband and I were fighting, and it kind of got to the point where he threw around the C word. It feels like we're just co-parents. We don't even have sex anymore. A lot of things were said out of anger, but I could tell with my husband's personality that they were things that he shoved so far down that were just kind of starting to bubble up. And that's when we kind of, as you say, turned the music off, turned the lights on, and said, we are like 6 inches away from each other, but miles away. What happened? And we've kind of been trying to push forward from there, but it kind of feels like our feet are in quicksand and we're still very, very disconnected.
Yeah. Man. One thing is, I'm glad the C word was co-parent. When you said
yes.
He used the C word, I was like, wait, what? What does he do? Okay, so you're co-parents. Okay. Phew.
Yeah.
Here's what I want you to go back and listen to how you just explained that. Because you have painted a picture where basically for 10 years, every part of the intimacy problems, every part of your sex life problems has been your fault. You pushed him away, you gained weight, you had never had a steady boyfriend, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. And what I promise you is this challenge, this place y'all find yourself, which is very common for people with 2 young kids, 2 years and younger, to not be having sex, to not even know what day it is, right? Because they're still operating on old operating instructions with a whole new chaotic new world. This problem is co-created. Y'all created it together. And you may not have thought that or have thought through it because you've been looking at what can you do, how can I fix this, how can I fix this? But as you mentioned, he stuffed stuff down for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And so both of you have just slowly found your way here. The good news is, if y'all want to, and y'all work together, you can co-create your way into something totally magical and amazing and full of other problems too. Nothing's perfect, but you can co-create your way out of this. But it's going to take both of you. It's going to take both of you. I want to go back to this story you tell yourself, which is, I've only had one boyfriend that was safe my whole life. And so any issues in this relationship are my fault. Tell me more about that.
I I didn't really date around before meeting my husband. I had a total of 3 relationships and romantic relationships in my entire life. My first relationship, I thought things were really great, and I was very young, and I was not in a place where I wanted to have sex or, pursue that side of the romantic relationship at the age that I was. And
I don't care what age you are. You don't ever have to pursue sex if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he felt differently, and I was date raped. He had slipped something while we were out.
Oh, God,
and
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And that was kind of his way of getting what he wanted from that relationship. And it got to the point where enough was enough, and I ended things. And ironically enough, after I had broken up with him, I began talking with my now husband. And I was so afraid of the lack of chaos and craziness that was going on, I ghosted him. And
hey, Brittany,
I entered
Brittany. You were drugged and raped.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Intimacy and sex for you with somebody you trusted and somebody you told your values up front. This is where I feel comfortable with physically and intimately right now. Your body's put a pin in that as a moment of violence, as a moment of protection. So moments of intimacy for you are terrifying, aren't they?
Incredibly.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you want more than anything is to be free and wild and rocking on till the break of dawn. And that's the one thing your body won't let you have because it was stolen from you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, man.
It still hurts so much.
I know it does. I know. And I don't want to paint a picture with a broad brush. I'm just piecing together the story you told me. My guess is you pushed away, and then things got hot and heavy in the next relationship because that was your way of reclaiming it.
In the next, it did start off hot and heavy, and then it quickly became physically abusive. God. I was getting beat on a day-to-day basis, going to school with bruises, and it took a long time to get out of that relationship too.
Yeah, man. So then this guy comes along, and he's finally safe, and he's finally a good guy?
Yes. Very good, very kind. He was the first person to say, hey, I would like to take you out. Yeah. Would you like to go have dinner with me? I had never been asked that before. It was always kind of the feeling of, oh, what can they get from me? He was the first person to want to celebrate me, in a sense, to honor me, to just go break bread with me, talk about dreams and aspirations, and
to build a life with.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's your challenge right now. I'm going to put aside here, and I need to say this before we can move on. I really want you to get off this call and call somebody in Denver that you can start talking to because I want you to heal from what happened. Okay?
Yeah.
If you haven't talked to anybody, now's the time. If you have talked to somebody, it's still really fresh right there. Do you have daughters?
Yes.
Okay. This narrative's going to haunt your body as they get older.
It's already starting to.
I know. I want you to go talk to somebody, okay?
Okay.
It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're broken. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's because your nervous system said, I'm going to be damned if this ever happens to you again. And we're going to fight. We're going to push people away. We're going to scream. We're not going to sleep all night. We're going to stay awake. And we're going to do whatever we got to do to make sure that never happens again, because I trusted that guy. I trusted the next guy. Okay? So that's off to the side here, but that's foundational to you moving forward and healing yourself, healing your role as a mom, and healing your marriage, okay?
Okay.
And I know it's a big responsibility, but I'm putting it at your feet because nobody else can get that kind of healing but you. And you have to decide I'm worth that kind of healing. And I'm telling you, I don't lie on the show. I'm telling you right now, you're worth that, okay?
Okay.
All right, here's the beautiful thing about the picture you painted after all that stuff happened. That man, your husband, is still in there. And here's a couple of weird paradoxes that I'm going to lay in front of you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You probably heard me say this, but I want you to hear me say it in your particular home. You work so hard when you're dating, and in the first year or two of like being married, you work so hard establishing safety. Like the romance, the desire, that's everywhere, right? It's all over the place. You don't have to practice that kind of stuff. It's just everything's like, I just want to make out all the time. I want to be together all the time. I want to hold his hand all the time. But I'm practicing. Is he going to be a guy that hits me? Is he going to be a guy that drugs me? Is he going to be a guy that answers the phone when I text him or call? And so you're practicing safety. And just like you described it, after a year or so, when safety is established, it's a weird paradox where for many people, safety and that rambunctious romance, right? That flirting, that desire, that I just want to be with him. I just want to be with him. It wanes, right? The body exhales. And so in that weird way, after you've practiced safety for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, y'all dated for 5 years before you got married. Now we have a choice. Just like you said, he wants to get to know you. He wants to break bread with you. Those same principles are going to apply now. Because the challenge you're running into is you keep trying to get back to your first 2 years that y'all were together, and those years are over. Now you got 2 wild kids, right? And a job and responsibilities, and you're back at work too, and you got financial stress. You got all this stuff going on. And so the question is, where can I find release? Where can I find adventure? Where can I find joy? Where can I find I can't wait until anticipation in sex and connection and intimacy? What has to be true for that world to reemerge? Have you ever sat down and said, I really love the following 3 to 5, 7 things? Like these things really feel good to me?
No.
Okay.
I don't even think my body has allowed me to get there.
Okay.
I feel like I've just been stuck in freeze, fight or freeze, you know?
Yeah.
For so long.
And tell me if this rings true with you. When you know that your husband needs sex, the man you love needs sex, you're a trooper, you love him, but needs go on a chore list. You need to get diapers, you need to make sure the kids' bottles are warmed up, and you need to make sure he has sex. So you put that on your chore list.
Yep.
And eventually you get tired, and some things have to fall off the chore list. I can't take the trash out tonight. I'm too tired. I'm not I'm not washing the whatever tonight. I'm tired. We're not having sex. I'm tired.
Yes.
Needs are very different than wants. I want you to, when we get off this call and after you make a call, the call to a counselor, because I want you to meet with a therapist, okay? But I want you to pick up Emily Nagotsky's masterpiece called Come As You Are.
Okay.
And it's a book that probably you and your husband should read together, and it will be very challenging for you, okay? But it is a masterpiece in teaching a woman to walk through this crazy question that for some reason nobody ever teaches and nobody ever talks about when it comes to sex and sexuality for a woman is, what do you like? Like, what are you into? And most women are like, I never even asked that question. I never even thought about that question. Or you catch glimpses of it. Or I've heard sex referred to, well, it's just like a big hug. And I just want to say, like, no, there's so, like, and when I say hug, like, there's a safety, there's an intimacy, and it just feels nice. But I want to say, like, no, there's so much more. There can be so much more. But as you begin to ask, like, what do I actually like? What do I actually want? What am I actually into? Then he gets to say, not, I need some sex, or like, I really, like, he gets to say, here's what I want. You want to try this? What if how about, and now we're getting the anticipation, the adventure, the heart rate gets up, the yeesh, okay, right?
Yeah.
And now you're having a connected moment. And by the way, sex is going to be less frequent with 2 kids under like 2.5, especially after 2 traumatic births, especially as you're healing from some pretty significant sexual abuse and physical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves you. And he said, till death do us part. So he's going to be with you during the healing process. And some days y'all are going to start sex and it's going to be hot and heavy, and then your body's going to shut you off. And he's not going to be excited about it, but he's going to be right there with you. And all we're going to do is begin to step into, okay, the marriage we had is over. What are we going to build now? And do you see how that question asked that way takes all the pressure off? All that stuck in mud stuff. It's like, yeah, we're done driving this car. It's in the mud. We're not going to get out. We're going to have to walk through the mud for a bit, but we're going to get in that car over there. It's on the road. And we get to decide where we drive next. How does that sound?
It sounds a little scary.
What's scary about it?
I guess just something that I heard you say a few moments ago was, the first 2 years of our relationship are over, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like my husband still kind of goes back to that. And he said, in the past, I just wish we could go back to how things were,
mm-hmm.
how things used to be. So to me, it feels scary to kind of put it all on the table.
It is. It's terrifying.
Because what if he just wants what it used to be? What if deep down it's just he's here because we're married and there's a lot of logistics that go with that? What if he doesn't want something new?
What if he does?
Yeah.
What if he does? What if he loves you so much and he doesn't know how to reach you? And what if the idea of, I'll just say it direct because this is this show, right? We can say whatever we want on the show. Many guys struggle with the idea of having sex with a mom. It's a role shift.
Mm-hmm.
Same as many guys sometimes have trouble having sex with their wife, with the label, right? It's just different. Because wives are like this and moms are like this. And it's just different, right?
Yeah.
And what if he misses you so bad and the only time he's seen you smile, because you've had 2 traumatic pregnancies, you've had all this abuse, but he remembers a moment when you were smiling. And you think it's about some kind of sex act, you think it's about some kind of partying you used to do. Maybe he just misses you. And he, in his clumsy, just being a dad, going to work kind of way, doesn't have the language to say, I miss when you used to just light up like a light bulb. Let's do that. And the challenge for you is not to create stories about the things he says, but let me just say it this way. There is no other path forward other than to put everything on the table. Say, you and I will never be who we used to be. And thank God, because we're different now. And we have these 2 amazing angels in our home. And also, we get to be whatever we want moving forward. What do we want that to be? And you can say things like, I want to learn to really love sex. I want to love it. And part of me loving that is I'm going to have to say, I need some help with some things because sex for you might start at noon, way outside the bedroom, right? And sex may start with you feeling supported and loved and him helping out with diapers and with this and helping out with cleaning up throw up. And it might help with bathing the kids. And it might help with some financial security. Like, who knows? I don't know. I'm just spitballing things. But you can say out loud, I want to learn. That's my adventure. I want to learn to love sex. And what an awesome thing to practice learning to love, right?
Yeah.
And I'm confident that he wants to continue to love to learn it too. And he doesn't want to be a chore either. He just doesn't have another picture. And you are right to be scared about what comes next, because you trusted somebody and they took everything from you. And then you trusted somebody else and they physically hurt you. Both of them physically hurt you. So your body's instinct to protect you from these things is right and it's good. And the vulnerability to move next and build something new is right and good also. Terrifying, scary. Whew. And so in order of importance here is I want you to call a therapist today, and I want you to get in as soon as possible. And I want y'all to figure out the money part of it. And I know everybody's struggling right now. This is really important because that sits really close to the top for you. That's still right at the tip top of your heart. It's right at the tip top of your nervous system. And I want you to get in there ASAP. I also want you to sit down with your husband and say, I love you. You're the safest, most stable person I've ever been. I'm terrified of losing you. And also, we have 2 little kids and we just have a new life and we got to figure out how to do this. And if he wants to call on the show, I'd love to talk to him because he sounds like he's a great guy. He's just stuck and he's just spinning his wheels. Sounds like he's an amazing man trying to figure it out. Whew. And I want y'all to order that book, Emily Nagotsky's Come As You Are. We'll link to it in the show notes. And read it together. And y'all can have some deep discussions y'all have never had before. And you'll end up in tears in some places, and you'll end up laughing in some places, and you'll end up in some really intimate conversations. And some of it will be good. Some of it will be stuff you got to talk to your therapist about. And some of it will be amazing. Some of it will be, all right, it's cool. Let's move on. And then you can start being honest about saying things like, I really want to love sex, and I really want to love connection. I really want to love intimacy. And so we're both going to take like crooked, wobbly steps forward into what this new world's going to be like. And by the way, somebody's got to go get the kid, right? Because the kid's crying. Whew. Thank you so much for your bravery, Brittany, and thank you so much for being a blessing to so many people. What courage looks like, this is what bravery looks like. And I cannot wait to see what your healing journey looks like, and I can't wait to see what you and your husband decide to build and create next. Tell him to give me a call anytime. You call me back anytime. I'll walk with you all the way. Hang on the line. I'm going to hook you up with a copy of Own Your Past, Change Your Future. I want you to read that book, and after you read Emily's book. Thank you so much, Brittany.